Hello, my name is Kevin Howard, and I'm the host of Breadcrumbs, a podcast for people who know it's not working. Welcome to episode 21. This week, I'd like to direct our conversation on a subject that's going to be a little surprising in this day and age. And that subject is when money is no longer necessary. Yeah, how about that? And so I'm sure that everyone who's listening to this podcast is saying, now, Kevin, how is that even possible? But we're going to get into it, and I'm going to bring you through the process of what am I thinking about when I say when money is no longer necessary. That is where we actually want to go. But for now, before we get into it, I take this moment to try to remind you of something because it's so important because the reason why we can't have real conversations in public with multiple people is because everything that makes us unique has been weaponized. And so when we enter these conversations, everyone has their armor on. And as soon as someone offends someone else about something that is different about someone else, all of a sudden the conversation degrades into this shouting match, usually virtually, right? Where nothing is heard. Everyone has their talking points and everyone goes away satisfied. At least I got my point in. But nothing ever gets resolved. That is not how we do things here on Breadcrumbs. How we do things here on Breadcrumbs is we don't talk about the things that make us different. Yeah, not because those things don't matter. They do. But there's far more about us. That means you and I that makes us similar, that we can use as a basis, as a wellspring, to look at even difficult conversations from the perspective of this is a fellow human, this is my neighbor, this is a person who has shared many things with me, and as a result, I have a strong understanding where they're coming from when they happen to say whatever they say. That is a much healthier, a safer environment to have conversations about things that are often sensitive and even a little difficult. And so, as we enter into this conversation about money and why we're going to get to a place where money is no longer necessary, I want you to hear me as I lay out my case. And I want you to use as the basis for assessing whether this makes sense at all your lived experience and the fact that we're both humans, that a lot of the things that you need, I need too. So everything I'm saying is within that context. So before you want to dismiss what I'm going to say because I happen to look different, or I happen to be a different gender, or I happen to be a different age, or all the things that make us different, I want you to tap into all those things that make us similar. The fact that I am a human and you are a human. The fact that I want the best for my family, for my children, just like you want the best for your family and your children, right? Okay. So there's so many things that we share. Use that when you hear what I have to say, and then assess whether it makes sense based on your lived experience. And if it does, keep it. Add it to your repertoire of information as you move forward in your life. And if it doesn't, set it aside because it may make sense later as you get exposed to additional information. Okay, let us begin. So, what are you talking about, Kevin, when you're talking about money not being necessary? Well, when we look at every aspect of our lives today, money is at the center of it. And if that would be okay and had been okay for some time, where everyone, certainly in the developed world, primarily the global north, but certainly certain major countries in the global south, the use of money within the modern capitalist system, within the modern geopolitical system, was producing a good life for most people in those developed countries. Outside of our view, of course, was the people who were paying the price for that good life, which was the exploited, primarily global south, the places where all the natural resources were coming from, right? Yeah, those people weren't having a wonderful life. We were having the wonderful life on their backs, but that was kept out of our view. But at least for a period of time, certainly in the United States, 30, 40, 50 years ago, most people were doing pretty good. And so it was working. But since the last 30 or so years, progressively, things have not been working well. And why? Well, one of the primary things that have made everything seem so much worse today is a trend of most of the income generated from all of our productivity, our portion that we were getting paid for the increased productivity that we have had over the last 30 years. Most of that income was being siphoned off to the top 1%. Okay. And so at first, it just felt like we weren't getting the raises at the same pace that we were getting before, but we were still doing good and things were still affordable and everything was fine. That was the 90s. That was the early 2000s, right? But slowly, as we approached the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, everything changed for a lot of us. First and foremost, 8 to 10 million Americans got completely devastated by that Great Recession, and many of them had to just start over. I'm one of them. Okay. But beyond that, the trend of siphoning income from the middle class and from the working classes of the country to the very top only accelerated post-Great Recession since 2009, 2010. And then COVID hit in 2020. Prior to COVID hitting, working class people, middle class people had gone decades and not seen material increases. As a class, I mean, there was always exceptions, but as a class, had not seen material increases in their compensation, even though they were working harder and longer and our productivity was higher. Most of the wealth from that productivity accelerated to the top, right? And what it did is produce the wealthiest billionaire class in recorded history. Yeah. Okay. And at the same time, you have a depleted middle class and a depleted working class. And I've talked about this in previous episodes. We live at a time where the median middle class household can no longer afford to buy a house in the average American city. I've talked about how that factor, because those middle class households could no longer buy houses, how their higher income is driving up the rents that now are impacting lower income families' ability to buy enough food. And so we have a food insecurity problem amongst the working class, amongst lower income families who earn within 200% of the federal poverty level. Recent Urban Institute study shows that for those families, 52% are reporting food insecurity. Yeah. So this is how the wealth and income inequality in this country slowly ramped up in the 90s, accelerated to the 2000s, and became severe since the Great Recession in 2008, 2009, and just exploded after COVID. Okay, this is where we are today. And all that, at the center of all that, is money. Because in order to access anything, we have to have money. So we get jobs because we have to have money. We pick the jobs who pay us the most money because the only way we can take care of our family and ourselves is if we make money. Okay, so this money is right at the heart of it. And when the money that we get paid for what we do is downgraded and downgraded and downgraded as the value of that work is degraded, and all the profits of that productivity go to creating that great billionaire class, right? That elite billionaire class. it makes our lives so much harder. The capacity to even achieve the basic middle class American dream is out of reach of most Americans. Recent economic data shows that the basic middle class American dream, which is defined by five simple items: the ability to own a home, the ability to save for retirement, the ability to save for your children's college education, the ability to take an annual vacation, and the ability to access quality health care. Five things. Recent economic data shows that the cost of those five things, the basic American dream, the range, depending on where you live in America, is from $150,000 to $220,000. Okay, so how much money are we making? Well, two-thirds of American households make less than $105,000 a year. Yeah. And the income band that has the highest number of American households is households who make between 50 and 55,000. So let's compare those two thresholds to what it takes to access the basic middle class American dream. Two-thirds of the country at $105,000 or less. In order to get the minimum threshold, that means you live in the lowest cost county in the country, $150,000, right? You have to earn another 50% or so of your income in order to just access in the cheapest county in the country. But in the median counties where you're around 180, I mean, literally, it is two-thirds of the way out of your income. And if you are in the bracket with the most American families, 50 to 55,000, you're talking about three times your income in order to access the basic middle class American dream. What does this mean? This means that the control and the distribution of money has literally priced out middle class and working class families in this country from the American dream. But it gets worse than that. Recent data, and I'm going to put all these links in the notes. Recent data shows that if you looked at every income range of the American population, 330 million of us, that life expectancy is tied directly to how much money you make. From the lowest earners, 1%, lowest earners in the country, all the way up to the top 1% of earners in the country. That entire span, as you go up to the next level of income, you live longer. Yes, I did not stutter. But what's worse and what's even more eye-opening, that the gap, the amount of additional life you tend to live based on your income, the biggest gap of any tiers of income through the whole range is the earners who are in the top 5% compared to the earners who are in the top 1%. Yeah, think about that for a second. Okay, that means that the ultra elite have the biggest gap. They live far longer than even the top 5% of earners. And when I say far longer, I'm talking about across the group. We're talking about for men like 3 years longer, and for women about 2 years longer. To contemplate that between the top 1% and the top 5%. But bottom line, from the lowest earner through each level of increased income, for every level higher, every person, the median lives longer. Yeah. So this is how money affects us. It determines how well we take care of ourselves and our family. It determines the jobs that we need to choose to do in order to take care of ourselves and our families. It even determines the length of our lives. Okay. That has been the experience in late stage capitalism. Right. Okay. So whatever this is that we are going through, and I think all of us on this who are watching this podcast know it's not working anymore. We need to transition from where we are to something that actually works for all of us because this is not working. When you couple how money has been drained from most people and consolidated near the very top of the earners with other realities that are pressing down on humanity right now. Now, Kevin, what other realities are you talking about? The economics, capitalism requires us to grow in order for the population to prosper. It is not designed nor is it capable to achieve an equilibrium where everyone is doing okay and you just stay there for like 3 or 4 years or 5 years or 10 years. No, it can't function that way. Capitalism, for the couple hundred years that we've had it, it either grows or it declines. And when it declines, lots of jobs are lost, people lose a lot of money. It's a nightmare. So it has to grow. And because it has to grow, we've built whole industries on making sure it grows. The whole advertising and marketing industry. From 100 years ago, we started trying to convince people that it was essential that they buy not just what they need, but they buy everything they want. And we're going to give you every reason to want it. And so we created a whole marketing and advertising empire that convinces each one of us the people you want to be buy this good or service. And that's why you should buy it too. Yeah. And so therefore we are constantly reaching because we all want to be better. That's what they're telling us. We all want to be better than who we actually are. And so whether you are young, you need to gain some skills. Whether you're old, you can't climb that mountain anymore. Whether you're fat, you could use to lose some pounds. Whether you're thin, you need to bulk up. It doesn't matter. That is designed to get us to constantly be buying more and more and more stuff. And I'm talking about you and me. Do we need to go take a walk in the garage and take a look at what's going on in there? Because you know as well as I do, in the average American garage, if you have a garage, it's bursting at the seams with stuff that we haven't used in years. I saw a podcast where a guy said, I didn't even know I was a hoarder, but I got two blow dryers and I'm bald. That is what marketing and advertising has been geared to do because that drives the economy because the economy has to grow for the billionaires to get another yacht. I don't know, but it just has to grow and grow and grow. Well, the problem with that process is we are exceeding the resource capacity of the earth. Every product that we produce, that we buy, that's collecting dust in the garage, requires natural resource in order to produce it. Not only just the energy, but the materials that the products are made out of. We are drawing more natural resource than the planet can replenish in a year. And what that is doing is drawing down the available natural resources for future generations. And the thing about it is, we are way over the annual amount. For example, there is a metric, because we track this stuff. There is a metric called Earth Overshoot Day. It's the day of the year that we draw out a year's natural resource to buy all the stuff we buy. The most recent Earth Overshoot Day that I'm aware of is 2024. I'll check for 2025, but it's going to be even worse. In 2024, Earth Overshoot Day was
August 1st.
Think about that. So that means for the next 5 months, the rest of the year, we are drawing down natural resources that should be available for future generations. So one of the reasons why capitalism cannot continue to do what we're doing is because we're going to run out of fossil fuels. Yeah. Check out Nate Hagen's The Great Simplification, where he will explain to you, incredible podcast, he will explain to you something called the carbon pulse. Yeah. When we discovered the use of fossil fuels as our primary energy source back in the mid 1800s, those fossil fuels represent millions of years of decomposed critters, right? To create the carbon-based fossil fuels. Okay. In the last 170 plus years, we have burned through that millions of years of fossil fuels, right? And we are going to run out within the lifetime of our children. Any child that's just born within that lifetime, we are going to have radically less available fossil fuels. Yeah, this is what resource overshoot does. Okay, so it's not affecting us right now, but what will the Earth and the there's 8.2 to 8.3 billion people now. What is this going to look like in 40 years when we have 75%, 65% of the available fossil fuels than we're using today? Oh, yeah, it's not going to be good. So, this is one primary reason why, besides for the fact that we're all being drained of the money to take care of ourselves and our family, right, through wealth and income inequality, besides for that, the perpetual growth of the capitalist economic model has exceeded the carrying capacity of the planet. And we have to reduce, if we want to have a future economy for our progeny, our lineage, right? We have to reduce how much natural resource we use and live within the carrying capacity of the planet. That means we need an entirely new economics. That means we have to transition. Okay. So if we have to transition, what is that going to look like? And the good news is that there are serious people working on this because we need a new economics that doesn't require more and more consumption, more and more economic growth, more and more use of natural resource. So we have some leading economists working on that. This episode is not about that. But what we need to talk about and what we need to think about, because we are affected, is if we have to change our economics, we have something to say about how that economics should work. And my point in saying that we need to get to a place where money is not necessary, yeah, this is why. Because why is money necessary? Money is the holder of value. Money is a surrogate for resource. If you have money, you're doing good. If you don't have money, you could starve in the wealthiest country in the world. So, money is a store of value. Money is the access point to resource. Okay. We can use what we've learned in late stage capitalism, the things that don't work, the things that make no sense, to design what the new system is going to look like. So let's go through that basic exercise. I will start off with this basic proposition. And if you disagree, put it in the notes. No human is more human than any other human. How's that sound? What I'm saying here is if you look at late stage capitalism, you have a whole class of people who live longer, for men, 14 years longer, the highest earner to the lowest earner. For women, it's 10 years longer. The only reason for that is because some people have access to enormous resource. Some people have access to the best that humanity knows, and most of us don't. And the difference in that access affects how long we live, affects the quality of our lives, affects the capacity for us to enjoy ourselves and our family and our friends. Yeah, when we go to change this economic system, that needs to stop. We are all human. No human is more human than any other human. Okay, first principle. Second principle is, as humans, we all have enormous potential. What is the difference between Elon Musk and the numerous people who could be Elon Musk, but instead they're pushing a cart in Jakarta, or they're in Appalachia somewhere working in the Piggly Wiggly because they never had access to the adequate resource to fully realize their full potential? The only difference with Elon Musk is he did. If every human has incredible potential, we as a society and as an economy that we are going to design or participate in designing need to create the environment for human flourishing. All of us are better off if all of us can reach our full potential. And we do have the ability to do that. It starts with knowledge. Right now, in the society that we have, we discriminate on who gets to know what. Why? So that people can make money. That needs to go. We need to get to a place where it's open source. Everyone has access to the accumulation of human knowledge. Every product and service is designed to the best of human knowledge. Right now, one of the reasons why we live shorter is because most of us use substandard products. Most of us eat substandard food. Most of us use devices that have substandard safety features on it because all of the best is reserved for the people who could pay the most. That's why they live longer. That has to stop. That has to stop. Okay? So, if no human is more human than any other human, every human has a right, an equal right, to the resources that sustains all of us. Because none of us can survive without the resources, not the billionaires and not the most indigent person on the planet. So we all rely on resources to survive. Every human has a right to the resources that they need in order to reach and maintain their full potential. Full stop. Because if that happens, everyone is better off. Okay. So if no human is more human than any other human, if every human has a right to the resources that sustains all of us, if every human has access to the resources they can use to reach and maintain their full potential, if every human has access to the accumulation of human knowledge so that they can find out their skills, their interests, and that they can educate themselves and perfect their skills so that the vocation they offer to the society reflects the passion of their interests and reflects the maximum training of their skills. Yeah, if all those things are true. And then we add a few more things. What is this about the gluttony? I told you we have right now, by May 1st, we exhaust a full year's natural resource. So the humans on this planet are consuming way over the carrying capacity of this planet. Yeah, but how much do we have? Most of us don't have enough. This is why we're living shorter. We don't have access to any of the best quality of anything. right? We have access to some good stuff, some decent stuff, but it's not nearly the best that humanity has to offer. So even though we are over consuming, even though we are way over the resource capacity of the planet, because the top 1% hold so much to themselves, most of us still do not have access to the resources to reach and maintain our full potential. You know what that describes? Gluttony. So in this new economy that is going to have to live within the planetary boundaries, which means the annual natural resources that we draw from the planet is not less than what the planet can produce in a year. That's living within your means so that you can always have natural resources for future generations. If that's possible, we can't waste the natural resources. We can't have people, sorry, Jay Leno, we can't have people with 200 cars or 100 cars. And all they do is polish them up, and every once in a while they take one out. That's what gluttony is. No, we cannot waste natural resources like that. We must share and we must make resources to the best quality so that they can last the longest, so they can do whatever service that they do to the best of our knowledge, which would also protect us and give us the greatest benefit. Making things substandard on purpose is an inefficiency of the current economy designed to make people money. Yeah, because that's how we treat poor people. They get the crap, and someone is getting rich off that. Welcome to the Walton family. So, in this new economy, everyone will have access to the resource that they can use to reach and maintain their full potential, but not more. Yeah, live a great life. But that means don't waste. That means understand that you're using resources and you are protecting those resources and taking care of those resources so that not only you get the benefit, but future generations forever get the benefits of resource from this beautiful planet that we live on. Okay, so no gluttony, no waste. Okay, if you add no gluttony, no waste, no, you can't hoard, no one's having 10 houses, forget about it. If you take those away and you say, well, no human is more human than any other human, sounds obvious. If you say every human has a right and equal to the resources that sustains all of us, if you say that a human has a right to all the resources that they can use to reach and maintain their full potential, if you say that all humans have access to the accumulation of human knowledge, open source everything, if you say those things and you take away the gluttony and you take away the waste, we no longer need money. No. Instead of money, which allows us to discriminate, which allows us to throw out more food than would feed the hungry, while people are going hungry. If you take the money away because you don't need it anymore, then it becomes about inventory management. Okay, we can use retina, fingerprint, all types of technological innovations to measure how much resource we're using, not for the purpose of micromanaging ourselves. The only threshold is you got to be able to use it to reach and maintain your full potential. As long as you are using your resource, you just go down to the store and put your thumbprint or go down to the store and look in the scanner. And yeah, okay, yeah, that's Kevin. He's getting his stuff. That's no problem, right? It can work. We can track the inventory to make sure that we're staying within the planetary boundaries and everyone gets access to the things that they need in order to maintain their full potential. And because we're not charging each other, because what you do for a living doesn't determine the quality of your life like it does today, everyone is doing the job, the vocation of their passion. and they have the full education and vocational training to perfect their skills. Could you imagine the quality that they would produce? And for all the jobs, and let's be candid, there's a ton of shit jobs that human beings are doing right now. This is where we use automation and artificial intelligence to do the work that humans choose not to do. Okay. That is the workings of an economy of the future, the next economy that we can make happen as this economy is collapsing, and it is, that works for all of us. So, this is why I'm saying we do not need money in the economy of the future. And the reason why we won't is because we will no longer be withholding the resources that people need to reach and maintain their full potential based on the fact that they don't have money. We will no longer have the differentiation in how we live based on the fact that you happen to be born to a certain family or in a certain country and you happen to have access to more ways of accumulating money. Those things we have learned from late stage capitalism lead to mass suffering, unnecessary damage, both to the planet and to humanity. The only people that this economics and this politics is serving is progressively the top 1%. As I told you, if you're in the top 5%, you live, men, about 3 years shorter than the billionaire class. So it's you too. This is not working. This is not working for most of us. We have to change this economics. So let's change it to something that works for all of us, that can actually produce a better quality life for the 8+ billion humans on this planet. Okay? So that's my point here on Breadcrumbs this week. I want you to take some time to wrap your brain around an economy where money is not needed, where we don't charge each other, that our claim on resource is derived from the fact that we're humans. And as humans, we require resources in order to reach our full potential. We all do. And that all of us have a right to do that. And so therefore you'll be able to go into the store and either do the retina scan or do the fingerprint scan or whatever and get the products and services you need. And everything will be made to the best quality, highest nutrition, longest lasting, most efficient, most effective. We can use sophisticated use share systems for durable goods. We no longer need to have our own durable goods. What's a durable good? The car. Most of us have cars and they sit there waiting for us to use them. No, that is a waste of resource. What each of us need is the car when we need the car. And we can come up with sophisticated, decentralized use share systems that we could just plug into our phones for the durable goods that we need. You want to go 4x4? I need a 4x4, this and this and that. Okay, it's going to take 2 days for the 4x4 because it's a specialty vehicle. Any other vehicle, yeah, we can have it there today. What time you need it? Okay, boom, put it in the phone and the vehicle is going to be delivered or the vehicle is ready to be picked up. Whatever, right? We could have sophisticated use share systems to make sure we have access to whatever resource we need when we need it. For the non-durable goods like food and stuff like that, no, we go down to the supermarket, we get it, we bring it to our house, we eat it as we eat it. You know what I'm saying? But we can share the durable goods and make sure that it's made to the best quality. And all of us have access to it. And You talk about Star Trek living. This is what a vacation would be like because it's not going to be money. So you and your family love the ocean. So you want to take 2 weeks off and you want to sail down the coast of California. And you want your family of five and the neighbor, best friends, and stuff like that. So 10 of you are going down the coast for 1 week down, 1 week back. And so you want to order a yacht that could accommodate 20, that has a crew on it, or whatever, and the food of your selection, whatever. So you plug it in your phone and say, well, okay, based on the availability of yachts in your area, we need a 3 month lag time. Okay, well, good. We will put it in for this is February, March, April, May. Okay, good. May 15th to the 29th, everything will be set up for you. That's your vacation. It don't cost you anything. You had to wait for the time those things were available. Yeah, you could do it. Oh, I've always wanted to go on a world cruise. Okay, great. You deserve to be able to go on a world cruise. Okay, how long do I have to wait to secure me and my honey bunny is going on the world cruise, which is going to take 9 months? Okay. Oh, that's 14 months. But okay, nothing wrong with that. We're going on a world cruise in 14 months. So you can organize yourself. That's what we can do. But then all of us, just think about that. All of us would have access. I want to see an African safari. Okay, yeah, put it in 4 months for the African safari. Put it on the schedule for June, right? For the African safari. Yes, we can all live that way and live within the planetary boundaries of the earth and spend our lives doing the vocations of our passion where we're fully trained and using automation and artificial intelligence to do all the things, the mundane, the hard, the difficult things that humans choose not to do anymore. Technology can do that for us. Yeah, that can be the economy of the future. And we have the technology to do it. All we have to do is change these core values. Because right now, when you look at the values that in America, let alone the global values, the values that are defining life in America, they are inhuman. Yeah. Hey, I love this country. I served in the military in this country. It is inhuman for the poorest Americans to live 14 years shorter than the richest Americans. That's inhuman. Every product and service that they use is shit. And these other people who are just human, just like they are, get the best of everything. And it shows. That is inhuman. If you don't think it is, put it in the notes. There's nothing fair about that. And help me to understand what is the ethics of having more than you can use. Seriously, if you imagine the earth, which provides, we have one earth that provides all the natural resources, that produces all the products and services, that produces the life we live. Okay. What is the ethics of saying that any one of us has a right to claim far more of those finite resources than the rest of us? If we were sitting at a table with our family and friends and we invited a guest to join us, so now it's the six of us sitting at the table and we prepared food. And you know how we do it in America if you have enough money to get food, right? If you're preparing for six, you probably got enough for eight. Because what happens is you put the platters on the table and everyone passes the platters and they take the food that they're going to eat and they pass it on, right? And what happens? We have a great time. Everyone eats. You're still hungry. You take some more, right? Extra bottles of wine on the table. And by the time everyone is done, you wrap up what's left and you got leftovers. Okay, that's normal. The way our economics works is that that family and those friends and those six people around the table, the guests who came up, oh, they're grabbing half the food off the table. Okay, how would any of us respond if one of the people grabbed half the food and then the rest of us are having to scuffle over the other half of the food, and some people don't get to eat? But there's more. Then the person who grabs half the food, who's not even eating all that food, they look at the person who winds up not eating and they say, well, I'll give you a biscuit. And they give them a biscuit. Okay. Yeah. That's the philanthropy of the billionaire class. You wouldn't have to be philanthropic if you weren't so gluttonous and you left the other resource for other people to use. Well, when it's the dinner table, we would all know what that looks like. But that's not how we are in American society. We cheer for the billionaires who are gorging themselves on the globe's resources when half the planet doesn't have enough resources to even contribute. No, no. We have to change the values of our society that endorses that level of gluttony, that level of cruelty, that translates literally into our life expectancy on a discretionary basis. Okay. And that is what this episode was about. If we have to end that horrible system, this horrible system that we're in, that's not working anyway, and that is overdrawing on the resources of the planet, we have the benefit of correcting all the mistakes, all the worst parts of late stage capitalism in order to create a better system for all of us, not only for humanity, but for the planet that supports us. Okay? So that's this episode of Breadcrumbs. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed the conversation. I need to hear your comments. I need to hear your pushback. All I ask is that it's constructive. I need you to approach this conversation because we are two neighbors. We're not enemies. You will notice nothing in what I said was accusatory of you, was toxic, did not weaponize anything. I am trying to find resolution to these sensitive subjects. And I believe that I have found and I have offered the starting point of a conversation for why we do not need money in the economy of the future. And that economy is next. Now, we're not talking 2300. We're talking in our lifetimes. We need to move to that economy because this one is collapsing. It's not working. And if we don't fix it, we risk, particularly in the United States, losing social order. This is Breadcrumbs, a podcast for people who know it's not working. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And I will see you next time in the conversation.